Public meeting of the Missoula Board of County Commissioners on this Thursday, March 28th. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Missoula County acknowledges that this event today takes place in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish and Kalispel people. Cheryl, you have some public announcements to share with us.
Hello, everyone. If you're joining us for this meeting virtually today, instructions for turning on closed captioning are on your screen. If you are joining us in person, we'll have closed captioning on all the screens here in the Sophie Moise room. There will be opportunity to speak during the meeting for public comment virtually and in person. We ask that all speakers today speak slowly and clearly. This helps with the accuracy of closed captioning. If you're on Microsoft Teams, if you would like to speak when discussion has been open for public comment, we ask that you use the raise hand feature. This is the small hand button. If you're calling in on the phone, you'll need to hit *5 to raise your hand. Once called upon, you'll need to hit *6 to unmute. If you have any questions, please find me during the meeting and let me know. Thank you. Back to Dave.
Thank you, Cheryl. So we have a number of agenda items and public hearings later on. And if you're here to speak or testify on those, please hold your comments until that time. But now is the opportunity if folks in the Sophie Moise room or online have any public comment on anything not on the agenda, please come forth to the podium or raise your hand on Microsoft Teams and we will get you queued up in the order in which you raise your hand. Any public comment on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, our claims of the County Commissioner's Office received as of March 5th, 2024 through March 18th, 2024 total $2,937,472.36. We have 4 public hearings today. Each of these will begin with a staff report, followed by an opportunity for the applicant or applicant's representative to say a few words, followed by public comment, and then the commission will deliberate and take action. Our first public hearing, which I will open, is on the Butler Creek Trail Project, and Jackson Lee will provide us a staff report. Jackson.
Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm here today to give a staff report on the Butler Creek Trail Phase 1 Trails Bond application. We also have in the room here members of the Parks and Trails Advisory Board, as well as representatives from the Butler Creek Trail Association. So to start us off, as I mentioned, this is for Phase 1 of a Butler Creek Trail project. The applicant is Butler Creek Trail Association. Butler Creek Trail Association was founded in 2020. The purpose and goal of the Butler Creek Trail Association is to extend a trail about 2 miles up Butler Creek Road, adjacent to the roadway, which is a roadway that has very limited and narrow shoulders, but is seeing an uptick in local use, recreation use, as well as opportunities here for a safe route to school extension to Desmet School. We also have potential through this project to enhance parks and neighborhood connectivity. And Phase 1 is limited to 1/3 of a mile of new trail construction, and I'll go over the specifications on that in a moment here. The requested trails bond amount is $76,011, which is 36% of the total project cost. The remaining 64% of the project cost comes from 2 grant sources that Butler Creek Trails Association has secured, which is Montana State Trail Stewardship Fund, as well as the Recreational Trails Program Fund. So for site location here, wait till it loads. So this is looking south, generally from the West Point subdivision. The dashed gold line is the proposed alignment of Butler Creek Trail Phase 1. And we highlighted some of the key local benefits and attributes of the Phase 1 trail development, which is the connectivity to the school, as well as extension of connectivity to Missoula County's Kestrel Park. And then it generally also is immediately adjacent to the development park, which has a network of trails as well as industrial and commercial uses. And the Trails Association in their level 2 application had letters of support from the school as well as businesses within the development park. And I should note also West Point subdivision, which comes up often recently and currently is being developed and has its own park and trails amenities as well. So why trail construction along Butler Creek Road? One reference point that comes to mind is Missoula County's Pathways and Trails Master Plan from 2022. And this trail was identified as a Tier 1 priority for local connectivity and improvements. It scored high within 2 categories, connectivity and resiliency, as well as positive public feedback. As I mentioned earlier, it serves an area with limited pedestrian infrastructure along a roadway that's narrow and limited line of sight. We've found through staff review as well as Parks and Trails Advisory Board review that this phase 1 would be an opportunity to enhance neighborhood connectivity, extend a safe route to school, and connects to Missoula County parkland. It's also part of a Trails Bond best practice, which is trying to amplify what is $3 million of funding out of the 2014 Trails Bond with state or federal sources to stretch that funding with these trail enhancement projects. And that also goes into the long-term vision of this, which BCTA is committed to continuing with after phase 1, which is looking for additional funding sources for the continuation of the trail 2 miles up the road. So project specifications for phase 1, there's an existing sidewalk that right now terminates at the end of Gooden Lane or its intersection with Butler Creek Road. So the southern portion would be to extend that off that sidewalk to a point just north of Angus Lane. And that would be concrete curb and gutter with a 6-foot trail width. And then from Angus Lane, we would follow the west side of Butler Creek Road until it reaches MacArthur Drive, which is also where the West Point subdivision intersects with Butler Creek Road. The design was put together by WGM. It's in draft final design stage. And throughout the process of fundraising over the last 3 years now, BCTA has also continued to involve Missoula County, both Public Works and Parks, Trails, and Open Lands during design consultation. So that final design has input from both of our departments. Once constructed, the new trail infrastructure would be incorporated into Missoula County's system for routine maintenance. So project budget and timeline. The urgency of the funding request now comes through the external funding. So the Trail Stewardship Award and the Recreational Trails Program Award are set to expire at the end of this year, late fall of 2024. And this Trails Bond program request would be matched for those secured awards through those 2 funding sources. Total project cost is just over $200,000 and $76,011 for Trails Bond program, which is 36% of the total project cost. As far as timeline, depending on commissioner decision today, if approved, WGM would move forward with finalizing any remaining design, as well as right-of-way conversations are ongoing with the county surveyor's office in this area. And then permitting and bidding would be other deliverables within spring and early summer. And then going into summer, early fall would be phase 1 trail construction. And then late fall 2024 is the award closeout for trail stewardship and recreation trails. As with any Trails Bond application, a good deal of process occurs at the Parks and Trails Advisory Board level. And so the Parks and Trails Advisory Board reviewed and scored the level 2 application that was submitted by the Butler Creek Trail Association back in January. Overall, the application scored 89 out of 100. Some of the comments received from the Parks Board were the opportunity to enhance and have safe local connections, both within the neighborhood, connection to the school, as well as to parkland. They also saw the expansion potential too. From a recreation standpoint, the value of of phase one is limited, but paired with phase two, if there was successful construction further down the road, they see both local recreation value, but likely folks within the Missoula Valley would also use that trail for recreation. And then as mentioned, there's an urgency with the external grant funding set to expire. Level of design, already having draft final designs was a positive element for the Parks Board. And then also just the Trail Association engagement and their support from the surrounding community along Butler Creek. With all that said, out of that January public meeting, the Parks and Trails Advisory Board recommended approval of Trails Bond funding towards the Butler Creek Trail Phase 1 project. And so with that, I would like to turn it over to a couple folks to speak on behalf of the project. So we can start with the applicant, Travis, and then we'll go to the Parks Board.
Thank you. And I think you may need to hit the button at the base of the microphone. There we go.
So it turns green.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for having me. Jackson, I really appreciate the presentation. I want to mention two additional points on the purpose and need. We saw the picture of West Point. There are currently a little over 50 units that have been developed there of the 240 that are planned. So there's increasing development that's going on in the area.
And if you could state your name for the record, that would be great.
Sorry. Yes. Hi, I'm Travis Greenwald, Butler Creek Trail Association.
Thank you.
And I'm representing board of directors. There's 5 of us on the board. I'm just the pretty face that they send out to talk to people. The other point I wanted to mention is the original idea for this shared use path was from Paul and Maggie Hansen, the Hansen Ranch there. They saw the increasing use of the road for recreation and the safety concerns. And they were the first ones to sort of present this idea to their neighbors. And that was the formation of Butler Creek Trail Association. So, and with that, I'll turn it over. Thanks so much for your time. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Josh, did you have a question?
I was going to say, nice to see you, Travis.
Yeah, good to see you, Josh. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm Jeff Cope, Chairman of the Missoula County Parks and Trails Advisory Board. So we've been looking at this for a few months, and just to make sure we look at it carefully, we created a subcommittee. They went through the whole process of looking at everything, asking questions. Then, as Travis mentioned, we went to the full committee and had a presentation from Mr. Greenwald and some others. And then at a third meeting, we scored the project. And in all of those, I would say we looked at it pretty darn thoroughly. And everything did meet with our agreement, and we do recommend that you pass.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else in the audience here in the Sophie Moise room like to comment on this or online? The time would be right. Apparently there's no additional public comment. So Josh, questions from the commission?
Really questions, just comment. I want to say thanks to Jackson for doing such a great job. And I want to commend the Butler Creek Trail Association for coming to us with this ask, with having secured 70% or 60+% of the funding from other sources, which makes for a super strong ask and is a testimony to your all's ability to get grants and raise money and generally be on it. So good job.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? I guess I would just echo Josh's comments also. Thanks for all of the hard work that's gone into this over a number of years, many years actually. And this is exactly how the trail bond dollars are intended to be used, and this is how it's supposed to work. So it's good to see these dollars get deployed on the ground. And I would entertain a motion.
I would be happy to make that motion. I move that the board approve the expenditure of up to $76,011 of the 2014 County Parks and Trails Bond Funds for design and construction services associated with the Butler Creek Trail, Phase 1.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Go forth and build the trail.
Yeah.
We're fully entertained. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. From trails to phasing plans. We've got it all here today, folks. So Willowbrook Meadows Phasing Plan Extension. This will be brought to us momentarily by Zach Jones.
Okay, good afternoon. This is the Willowbrook Meadows subdivision phasing plan extension request. And the subdivision is located in Lolo. Applicant is Willowbrook Holdings LLC, and WGM is representing them with Jamie Erbacher joining us today. And I'm Zach Jones with Planning, Development, and Sustainability. So the subdivision, as I said, is located in Lolo. This is phase 6 right here. This is phase A, the two phases that are being proposed for extension. Kind of the, if you want to call it the town center of Lolo, is located over here at the intersection of Glacier Drive and Highway 93. And to get to the subdivision, you have to come in on Glacier Drive, then go north on Lakeside Drive. And it is located within Citizen Zoning District 41A, which is this red color that encompasses the subdivision and other area to the north and east as well. So this is the phasing plan map. Like I mentioned before, this request is for phases A, which is this very big single lot right here, and then phase 6, which is 6 lots on Gulf Drive, one of the roads in the subdivision. Phase A used to be lot 34, and it was created as a remainder lot when the subdivision was first approved. And then in 2017, it was actually turned into its own phase through a plan amendment. It's a little laggy. So the subdivision was originally approved in January of 2004. Since then, there have been several phasing plan amendments and extensions in 2005, 7, 8, 9, 2011, 2015, and 2017. And the expiration for these phases for phase A was actually at the end of last year, and phase 6 expires at the end of this year. We actually had this application in before the end of last year, which is why it's still being considered for phase A, even though it's already expired. And the county subdivision regulations allow for extensions from 1 to 3 years, and the applicants are requesting 3-year extensions for both the phases, phase A and 6, which would move their deadlines to December 31st, 2026 and 2027 for phase A and 6 respectively. And like I mentioned before, Phase A, which was formerly Lot 34, was created as a phase out of the remainder lot in the 2017 phasing plan amendment and extension request. And it is required to be filed before Phase 6 may be filed. So this is the map that shows the presence of floodplain on the property. As you can see, Phase A is almost entirely in the regulatory floodplain, and then the rest of the subdivision currently is mostly not in. There has been some elevation certificates for some of the properties there. However, that is actually proposed to change with the upcoming map updates. This is currently draft map data that is being shown, but the blue is where the regulatory floodplain will be located when the update is adopted. So the entirety of the subdivision will be included if and when that is adopted.
Sorry, Zach, or Matt, maybe, when did you say that the maps were going to be adopted in 2027?
Matt, come on up.
I will
Sorry.
defer to Matt for that.
Okay.
This is Matt Heimel, County Floodplain Administrator. Yeah, so we could expect preliminary floodplain maps maybe next fall or later, and then potentially final adoption by FEMA 2026, 27, or after. And as Zach said, the designations we have right now are based on draft data. The elevations or the flood elevations between the existing natural ground are very close. So as far as flood depths go, when we look at the draft mapping, projected flood depths for Phase 6 are anywhere from 0 to 1/2 foot, according to FEMA's draft data. And again, it's draft data. We'll have more rounds of FEMA's quality review, and then following preliminary data release, we'll know more about the floodplain map on the property. And I can
Thanks.
answer any
Sorry.
questions about implications therein.
Thanks, Matt.
As Matt mentioned, with the draft map update, the entire subdivision would be added to the Bitterroot River floodplain, and that would require any new development to go through floodplain permitting, as well as purchase flood insurance per FEMA regulations. And there also would be flood hazard determinations documenting the potential for inundation of property, structures, and ingress and egress. And the other agency comment I received was from Kyle Crapster at Environmental Health, just stating that the project will be served by city sewer and water, which is correct, and will require a municipal facilities exclusion, which would be filed with the final plat. The city sewer and water here is the Lolo RSID sewer and water district. And that is all I have for the staff report. I do have a recommended motion up, but the applicant's representative is here and I believe is available, and I'm available to answer questions as well.
Thanks, Zach. Would the applicant or applicant's representative like to say anything? Jamie?
Thank you, Commissioners. Jamie Urbacher with WGM Group for the record. So this subdivision was approved quite a while ago. And as part of that, it did go through a letter of map revision based on fill. And so they brought fill in to essentially build up this property. And then also a condition of that is that they have to obtain elevation certificates for any homes that are on the property. So when Zach was showing the one slide there of the current floodplain with all the elevation certificates, just kind of going to show that, yes, that is happening and that these structures are being built above the base flood elevation. It's a unique situation where we are seeing that this subdivision was built got a LOMA look, they were required to. And then with the preliminary maps, they are showing within the floodplain. And so I want to say thank you to Matt Heimel for helping not only WGM, but also our client kind of walk through what that means for the future of Willowbrook. And so just for future reference, we are going to be going back and reviewing our elevation certificates, comparing it to the natural ground, and then potentially either doing an appeal through FEMA or providing comments so that they will take that into consideration and remove these properties if they can from the floodplain. So just kind of a little bit of background there. And then, excuse me, regarding phase A, maybe just for a little bit of clarity going forward, and be happy to condition with this as well, that phase A just has to be filed prior to phase 6, since phase 6 is the only remaining phase left. And so maybe we just kind of fix our order on our exhibit here that we provide that shows that phase A is actually prior to phase 6 so that there's not any confusion. Little more history there. 2017, there was that amendment that required lot 34 to be part of the subdivision. 2017, WGM tried to remove that phase from the subdivision, or that lot from the subdivision, but because it was less than 160 acres in size, it's required by statute to be within the subdivision. So certainly we recognize that and do plan on intending to file phase A and file that prior to phase 6. With that, I'm open to any other questions you may have.
Okay, thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Zach, a question on one of those earlier graphics you had up here. There look like, yeah, that one. What is the little icon of what appears to be a barn floating? These little things.
I think I will have to
Noah's Ark or
defer.
something.
I'll have to ask Matt about that.
Matt? Not that
Matt Heimel again. What exactly is the question again?
It looks like Noah's Ark.
Oh, the little diamond thing.
the barn floating in the water.
So as part of the community rating system, we put a lot of information out there for the public to access about flood hazard. That icon would actually take you, if you were in the website, to the letter of map revision based on fill that was done for the subdivision in 2005. So that was the process that brought the subdivision out of the floodplain. So it's a link to a document. It's an interesting icon. We're working on it.
Okay, thanks. That's extremely intuitive. So, okay, thanks, Matt. Any public comment? Any other public comment on this proposed phasing plan extension? Okay, seeing none. Other additional questions?
Yeah. Thanks, Jamie. Jamie. So the Willowbrook folks appear to be serial extensionists.
Yes.
What's going on there?
So Perry Ashby, he's the developer of this subdivision, and he's pretty good about watching the market and not putting lots on the market finalizing lots prior to there being successful times within the market, if you could. So not anything on the county. It's definitely something that the developer is just.
Say it again, louder in the back.
What is your point, Josh?
It's just a refrain I want to keep saying. So,
But
thank
yeah.
you for pointing that out.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Other questions or a motion?
So last thing, Jamie mentioned an ordering that would make a little more sense. A and 6, is that reflected in how we have things right now?
Yes, the motion is reflecting that. The deadline for A would be the end of 2026 and phase 6 would be the end of 2027. So
All right,
that's
good.
reflected in the
Perfect.
motion. I
Thank
think
you.
Jamie was referring to the phasing plan map from earlier.
And we'll fix that. When I say we, you'll fix that, or how's,
Do you mean the phasing plan map?
whatever Jamie
bringing it up.
was referencing.
Passive tense, it will be fixed.
Okay.
So I think what you're referring to is just the order of these in like the key.
In the
there.
key, oh, okay, okay.
I am okay with it because I think it still shows the deadlines that are there currently, but
I'm okay with that too.
Is
Okay.
John Hart okay with it? Okay.
Okay. How
All
about a
right,
motion?
I would move to approve the phasing plan extension, extending the Phase A final plat submittal deadline to December 31, 2026, and the Phase 6 final plat submittal deadline to December 31, 2027, subject to the master conditions of approval.
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you for that. Next, the Running W Ranch Phasing Plan Extension. Laura.
Okay, let me share my screen. Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, Laura Collins, Planning, Development, and Sustainability. This is the Running W Ranch, pending name change to Missoula Meadowlands Phasing Plan Extension. This request is brought by Track 2 COS 6492 LLC and represented by WGM Group. It's located here, northeast of the Y, and just off of 93. A little bit closer. And the zoning map for more context. And so this is a request to extend the final plat submittal deadline for 8 of the subdivision phases, which are currently due to expire May 31st of 2024. So here coming up pretty soon. So here is the existing and then proposed, everything as is. The request is to extend phase 3 1 year, so new deadline May 31st, 2025, and the remaining phases 4 through 11, the maximum 3 years to May 31st, 2027. Some more background. Running W was first approved in 2005 with 12 phases. Phases 1 and both subphases of phase 2, 2 and 2A have been filed. So 3 phases so far. This one has also had a few extension requests as well as some amendments. The most recent you would have seen last November, and they amended their covenants for density and housing to align with the underlying zoning, as I showed in a few slides back. So they're needing to file still phase 3 to 11, which again, deadline is coming up. Phase 3 is requiring significant infrastructure. They are needing to finish Meadowlands Drive, which will add connection to Cartage Road and thereby Highway 93. And that will serve the future phases as well as the existing phases. So according to the Missoula County subdivision regulations, major subdivisions must be recorded within 21 years of the effective date of the revised subdivision regulations. So that was 2016. Applicants are allowed to request extensions of 1 or up to 3 years. So phase 3 that is requested for 1 year, and the remaining phases are requested for a 3-year extension. We did receive one agency comment. Missoula County Floodplain Administrator recommended reviewing potential changes to the project and just touching base with water quality and public works due to groundwater issues in the surrounding area. There is a approved drainage plan. There is wetland detention area and an engineered basin to the east side of Highway 93 to address these issues. And I have a proposed motion here. I'm here for questions, and I think the representatives will have some more details for you.
Thank you for that. Does the applicant or applicant's representative want to say anything? Welcome back, Jamie.
I'll start us out. I do think that we also have Andrew Wiegand on the teams, so we can go to him next if we don't mind. But Jamie Erbacher with WGM Group. Actually, excuse me, Andrew's with the next project. Getting them confused. But so for Running W Missoula Meadowlands, again, subdivision that was preliminary approved quite a while ago. A little background here. The Williams family originally developed this subdivision and received preliminary plat approval. Since then, the subdivision has been purchased by someone else. Those entitlements carry through to the new owner. The new owners are currently working on the infrastructure improvements for phase 3 with the intent to file phase 3 probably mid to late summer, I would imagine. And after that, then they will continue on with the next phases of the subdivision. They do have some townhome type style housing units that they are looking at for phase 3 of this subdivision. So adding some housing stock to the supply out here at the Y. Thank you.
How many extensions, 3-year extensions can be granted?
Up until that date
The-
that Laura had.
2037?
2037.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Any public comment on this proposed extension? Any other questions?
No, I move that the board approve the Running W Ranch phasing plan extension.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye, and I'm sorry, I didn't read the proposed motion on the screen. Do we need? I'll just do that over. I move to approve the Running W Ranch Missoula Meadowlands subdivision phasing plan extension extending phase 3 to May 31st, 2025 and phases 4 through 11 to May 31st, 2027. 27? 37. 27. Okay, thank you. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you for that. With a bonus do-over even. So we are belt and suspenders on that one. So our third and final phasing plan extension proposal is related to the West Point.
They're gonna have a really nice trail.
Yes, they will. They
You might
will.
recognize this map from the first item.
Okay.
Thanks,
Which
Zach.
Laura.
will be related to the request as well. So this is the West Point subdivision phasing plan extension request. Again, I'm Laura Collins with Planning, Development, and Sustainability. This request is brought by the applicant Circle H Investments, also represented by WGM Group. So here is West Point, located off of Butler Creek Road and north of Gooden Lane. This subdivision was approved May 23rd, 2001 and has, excuse me, it was, I'll come back to that. Here's the zoning map. Yep, Grant Creek off to the right. So they've also had a few extension requests, and the most recent amendment was also last year to their trails plan. Here's the code citation again for subdivision filing extension requests. So they are requesting extension to complete important infrastructure, including water and their trail and landscape plan, which they've been working on. They are requesting the maximum 3-year extension for the phases remaining to be filed. The current deadline is June 20th of this year, and they're requesting the full 3-year extension to June 20th, 2027. Here's the existing. So, phase 4 is broken into 4 subphases, and phase 5, and those still need to be filed. And the proposed, the same with new dates. And a little bit more about the trail plan revision. So the trail plan was overhauled after much consideration with the neighbors and the applicant. They are making it more connected, more accessible, and protecting some riparian areas with that. With this, again, I am recommending approval, and we will be here for questions.
Thank you. Would the applicant or applicant's representative like to say anything? And is there any sort of antitrust issue involved with WGM's monopolization of the working-
extensions.
Of extensions, yes. Jamie.
Thank you. Jamie Urbacher with WGM Group. Andrew Wiegand is on the line as well and will probably provide comment. Again, an older subdivision. A lot of history with this one. Prior developers, it had gone to auction. Circle H Investments LLC picked it up a few years ago. They did the last phasing plan extension and modification, which created the 4 subphases within phase 4. And with that, also the update to the landscape and trail plan as well. Over the past few years, they have been working with the homeowners association to come to an agreeable point on that landscape and trail plan, including benches and stairs and actual locations of improvements as well. And so that did take some time. Additionally, they are working on water up for this area. And so all of that together has just taken some time. And so therefore we are needing another extension for this subdivision, and depending on the market and the number of lots still that have preliminary plat approval, there is potential that they will come back in the future.
Thanks. And so you mentioned your client is online.
Yes.
Would you like to say anything?
Yes, can you hear me? This is Andrew with Butler Creek Development.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, Andrew. Welcome.
Oh, great. Thank you. Having some technology issues, so didn't know if I was going to be able to connect or not, but happy that you guys can hear me. Just wanted to say, just on the developer side of things, we are appreciative of the ability to file an extension and with the anticipation that we get approved here in the next couple minutes. But just wanted to thank everybody for reviewing and allowing us the opportunity to continue with the subdivision. We've got a little bit of ways to go, but we've been very proud of the involvement with the HOA and WGM Group and the County Board of Commissioners up to this point with allowing us to continue with this project. So thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Is there anyone online who would like to comment on the proposed West Point phasing plan extension? Seeing none. Any questions? Motion.
Yes. There we go. I move to approve the West Point subdivision phasing plan extension, extending all phase 4 subphases and phase 5 final plat submittal deadlines to June 20, 2027.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any other business to come before the commission today? Seeing none, we'll be adjourned.
Wow. That was
I was an extension rich.